very New Orleans 1:30, so welcome everybody. We're going to get rolling. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Megan. I'm the executive director of One Book, One New Orleans. Every year we pick one book. We encourage everyone in the city to read the same book at the same time, with the idea that we'll be stronger as a community through a shared reading experience. When we do that, we have to recognize that approximately 1 in 4 adults here in the city of New Orleans are going to struggle to access whatever book it is we pick. And if we're really going to be One Book, One New Orleans, we have to break down those barriers to access. So every year we develop a curriculum around the book, and we give that curriculum and copies of the book free of charge to adult education programs throughout the city. So it's being used to teach adults to read. We get the book into the ears of the blind and print handicapped through a partnership with WRBH Reading Radio. They record the book and they broadcast it cover to cover. We get the book into the hands of incarcerated members of our community through a partnership with Orleans Parish Jail and a different partnership with Louisiana Books to Prisoners. And for the last 2 years, we've actually been able to get the author inside the jail to do a reading as well. That's been really cool. And last but not least, if you cannot afford the book, we make sure that every branch of the New Orleans Public Library has a copy. The library is probably our longest standing community partner, so thank you, NOPL staff. Give it up, give the Lord's work for making this happen today and for always being a wonderful partner and community with us. We also couldn't make this event happen today without VIET, and particularly Alexis Wincloud. Thank you so much for everything. She's going to do the food demo later, and I'm sure she'll tell you all about it. Yes. And why are we here today? Because after we've done all of this great job creating community partnerships and getting the books into the hands of many people, we've got to come together. And we're doing that today with our 2025 selection, Daughters of the New Year by Tran, who's right there. Born and raised in New Orleans, Tran has written one book. It's called Daughters of the New Year. It's the one we're all here to celebrate today. She got her degree at Oxford and University of Mississippi in Oxford. Right. Not Oxford in England, but that one in Mississippi, right? Oxford smells like Oxford, Mississippi. Thank you. I wasn't even thinking about Great Britain. Squarely in the U.S. That's impressive. And then the PhD from University of Ohio. She's appeared in numerous publications, including Oxford American, and she has so many food passages in this book that they inspired this entire event. So here to share some of those passages with you, without further ado, Tran.
Hi everyone, thanks so much for coming. As always, I'm shocked when people come to the events because I'm like, really came to see me? So it's always very humbling, I think, to come and see people. So thank you for coming. I know you could do any number of things on a Saturday afternoon, and you came here to the library, which, by the way, libraries are going to save the world. So
yes,
thank you for supporting libraries too. I'm just going to read a couple of short snippets that focus on food throughout the book, because I know the real star of the show is this setup behind me. But writing about food in the book was so important to me because as a kid of immigrants, food was very central to our household. My parents, they moved to the U.S. after the Vietnam War, and I feel like the only way that they could feel connected back to their homeland was through cooking. I don't think I really understood that until I became an adult. And I also never understood how actually truly incredible it was that my mother cooked a full meal every single night for 3 kids and her husband after working for a whole day. So as someone who is constantly I have to cook dinner again every day, I really appreciate that now. So yes, food is so, so, so important. So the first passage I'm going to read is with the character Chè, and she's with her dad. The broth was a deep orange, the sheen of oil collecting along the top. It was full of fatty meat and thick, slippery noodles. Kung took the pig knuckle out and placed it on a separate plate. He lifted each piece from his bowl and inspected it, carefully cutting off the thin sinews of fat from the thinly sliced beef shank. Gelatinous brown cubes of pig's blood floated among the meat debris. He added finely shredded purple cabbage and squeezed the juice of 2 lime wedges. Track watched her father do this as she ate her vermicelli bowl. She was halfway done already, and her father had not yet begun. He did this every time. She wasn't sure why he insisted on ordering the meal with the fattiest cuts of meat, only to spend so much time shearing away its most delectable feature. He slurped the noodles and the broth. Sprays of orange dotted the napkin tucked into his collar. He picked up the knuckle and chewed away the soft bits, gnawing on cartilage and sucking the bone, extracting the flavor of home. He still finished eating before Chak did, taking large chugs of lukewarm jasmine tea before getting up and shuffling to the door to smoke a cigarette out front. And I just picked that passage because it really was inspired by my own dad, who we would, every time we would go out to eat, he would just like take forever to eat the bowl. Like we would all be done eating and he would just be meticulously preparing his bowl of food, and then he would slurp it all down in basically one go. So that passage is dedicated to him. This is from a chapter where we see Swan, the mother, prepare a meal for her daughter. And, we see the refrigerator and we see her cooking the meal. The refrigerator was packed from top to bottom, front to back, with old produce, old holiday treats, and things Swan refused to throw away but would never eat. American cheese slices, Activia yogurt, and Jordan almonds that were bonbonnières from a cousin's wedding. Drew watched as Swan opened the refrigerator, unfazed by its controlled disarray. She shifted the pickled quail eggs and garlic, peering past a carton of soy milk to find an old jar repurposed as fish sauce mixture. She'd made it herself, adding sugar, vinegar, ginger, and garlic, shredded carrots, and chili peppers. The rice cooker emitted a short song. The pot of pork belly and boiled eggs simmered in honey-colored liquid, the sweet licorice odor of star anise lingering underneath salted meat. It was Drew's favorite meal, and her mother knew this. They sat at the table, the two of them, holding bowls of rice and chopsticks. Her rice and boiled egg yolk soaked up brown drippings. Her mother dipped pieces of pork belly into a dish of fish sauce. And that passage is dedicated to my favorite meal. But yeah, just another example of like witnessing my own mother in the kitchen and cooking every single night for us was really, really special. Especially in hindsight as an adult, it's really special to have those memories of her. Okay, here we're farther back in time now, and Chak is a kid and she is at school having lunch. At lunch a few days before Valentine's Day, Tommy Abear, who sat across from Chak at the lunch table in the cafeteria, waved his hand in front of his nose. "What's that smell?" he said. "It's Chak. She smells like fish." The other kids laughed, embarrassed by her. "Ew," said Clara Thomas. "Is that really you?" She unrolled the fruit roll-up from her insulated Barbie lunchbox. Chak shut the tin lid of her own lunchbox. Her mother had packed a Tupperware of rice and fish sauce, shredded pork and pork skin. Oily green onions and pickled carrot garnishes were smashed beneath the plastic cover. The pungent odor of room temperature pork and fish sauce had drifted from her lunchbox and sat in the air. "Smells like garlic fish farts," said Tommy. And then finally we have a scene from when our main character Swan meets her husband Kung for the first time, and he takes her on a date. The restaurant sign glowed against the dark sky. It was a Chinese restaurant attached to a gas station. Swan had not had Asian food in a restaurant since a rainy day in April last year in Saigon. She'd gone to a cafe near the house for noodles. "It's good," he said. "I've been here a few times now. A couple of other Chinese places I've been to are weird. It usually is just American food with soy sauce." but this place tastes just like a restaurant I used to go to in my neighborhood. It's not Vietnamese food, but there aren't any restaurants yet. I guess we're supposed to open one of those ourselves if we want to eat in a Vietnamese restaurant. He laughed, seeming more nervous than he had all night. Did you want to try? Yes, she said. Yes, I want to try. And so he rushed out of the driver's seat and around to the passenger side to open her door, extending a hand to help her out of his car. She walked with him into the brightly lit, dingy restaurant with her arm linked through his. He ordered egg noodle stir-fry and dumplings, green beans and garlic, crispy fried shrimp, a steaming pot of jasmine tea, loose leaves floating in their small cylindrical cups, sat on the table among their plates, given without request. She stared at him through the steam floating above their food. She felt an overwhelming flood of homesickness and was sure it was because Kung reminded her of home. So I'll leave it at that. But yeah, there's plenty of food throughout the book, and that particular passage was also inspired by a real life date that my mom had with my father. They met at a party, and some other guy was hitting on her, and she told me she found the ugliest man in the room who she would never date. He was not the ugliest man in the room, I don't think, but she was like, I would never date him. So I picked him and said he was my boyfriend to get this other guy to go away. And my dad, being very suave, was like, I'll take you out to eat at an Asian restaurant. And he took her out to a Chinese restaurant, and it was authentic Chinese, and she hadn't had any Asian food at all since they had immigrated to the US, and she said that was what won her over. So I thought that was a wonderful example of how food can make us feel like we're at home. So thank you very much. Thank you.
Xin chào quý vị. My name is Alexis, and that was the extent of my Vietnamese, so everything else will be in English now. I feel like it's kind of important to kind of greet people in the language just to immerse everybody into the environment. Before we get started on the cooking demo, there is drinks in the cooler. Please feel free to grab one. Oh, that's my daughter, Summer. Summer, eat it. Okay. Sorry about that, everybody. Like Megan said, I'm the executive director of VIET, which is a local nonprofit located in New Orleans East. This year, we were awarded a grant from the City of New Orleans Cultural and Recreational Department just to share our culture throughout the city in honor of our 50th anniversary of the fall of Saigon. For those who don't know, the Vietnamese community celebrated the 50th anniversary on April 30th of this year, which marks their long passage from Vietnam to America and settling here in New Orleans. We did a flag raising ceremony and everything like that. For the past 2 years, we've been traveling through the city of New Orleans, from Algiers to New Orleans East, down to the Lakeview, doing cultural events like cooking demos, book readings, arts and crafts, and things of that nature. So we kind of just get into it now. So this dessert is actually called, I have my staff in the back telling me how to say it. It's called Chè Thái, which is just a cool dessert to have on a hot day. It's made out of herbal jelly, jackfruit, lychee, sugar, water, and basil seeds. Okay, so do you guys want to just crowd the table, or does everybody just want to sit down? How do you want to do it? Okay.
Why don't you just demonstrate?
Yeah, okay, I'll just demonstrate it. Okay, yeah. So this Jello is all these ingredients can be found at the Vietnamese store, and I'd say for like a regular thing of Jello, it's probably like $3. So this is like my favorite one I get. It's just honestly can't tell you what it is, but it's pretty sweet. This is what I always get. And then this pandan green one is another one that I always get. Traditionally, they do use like a regular green one, but the pandan has the pandan flavoring that I think is a lot sweeter in the Jello drink. And then this is jackfruit that I cut up, but it comes in a can, and they're whole, and so you just slice it, dice it, and then that's how you do that. And normally you use coconut jelly, but I couldn't find any, so lychee is the next best thing, and it just brings another flavor to the Jello. And this right here is what we're gonna use as the base. This is just the syrup from the jackfruit juice that I put, and then in this is just a concoction of sugar and basil seeds, and you add water to like make the basil seeds activate, I guess you can say. And this is how the basil seeds look in the store. They're about $1.99, maybe like 99 cents in some places, so it's not all too bad. right into it. So I already pre-diced everything, so when you guys come up to make your Jello, it's pretty easy for everybody to do it. Sorry.
That's the jackfruit.
This is these are the two different Jellos right here.
Oh,
the
right.
yellow jelly and the green one, and then this is gonna be the jackfruit right here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So the idea of the cocktail is just to layer. Some people like more fruit, some people like more Jello. So we're gonna allow you to come up and just scoop what you like, and then at the end of it, we top it off with the basil seed sugar water concoction, and then you eat it just like that. Okay? Sorry. So like a lot of people like it, a good mixture where it's like you can eat it and drink it. Some people like more of the basil juice, the basil seed water concoction. So it's really up to you. We're just gonna do a little bit of the jelly and then a little bit this and then lastly is this. So this is how the base is gonna pretty much look like, and then you just fill the rest of the cup up with the syrup thing, and that's about it. Okay. So this is how it's gonna look after the basil seeds did kind of blow up. You just have to let it sit in water for just like a couple minutes, and it's definitely better chilled. So I don't advise doing it hot at room temperature. And I like just to add the jackfruit syrup to it because it does make it a lot sweeter. Yeah.
Is that just water in there?
Yeah, so water, basil seeds, and sugar is what I put in here originally. And I added the jackfruit after. And then that's kind of it. This is my party trick. This is probably the only thing I really know how to make. So I like to perfect my craft, and that's it. And that's a cup of Chè Thái.
Beautiful.
And now if anybody wants to come up and make their own, feel free. We have a lot to go around, so if you love it, please come back up for a second. Okay?